Welcome, fellow summoners. This is the second day of the GPL 2017. I am Husky, and with me as always is Contra.
And it's great to see you here again today as we move on to the first game of Day 2. It's going to be Team Resurgence from Singapore going against Young Generations. Now, it's really interesting to see this match coming in for today because both of them are on the top of the table with 2 wins and 1 loss. So they're just going to break the streak here for either team. So who's it going to be coming out on top? We're about to find out in a bit of time here, but of course, what are your thoughts coming in for this matchup coming in for Team Resurgence against YG?
I mean, both teams are really strong, but we will show the results table from yesterday. And as we mentioned, the first stage of group stage has already ended, and now we have 3 teams topping up the charts with 2 points: Manila Eagles, Resurgence, and of course, Young Generations. Kuala Lumpur Hunters and Headhunters behind by 1 point, but Manila Eagles is the only team that has played 4 games, while the rest have played 3 games. But Day 2 will be the breaking point. We'll see which team moves forward and which team will be forecasted to drop out of the group stage. But enough talking about that. Let's go into the picks and bans for the first game. Team Resurgence versus Team Young Generation. As we see, the bans come in: Gragas, Zach, Rek'Sai, Oriana, and Cassiopeia. Nothing surprising about that. But where do you see this going from here?
Well, looking at the first picks and bans here, you can see all these bans are targeted at Null. Both of the mid laners here have been performing exceptionally well, especially yesterday we saw Intresso just winning all his lanes so hard against Kuala Lumpur Hunters. And right now, of course, going against Null, it's probably going to be a very different story here. So the target ban to Null is quite appropriate, I would say, coming for the first phase. And of course, on the side of Young Generations, we do have a few standard bans here with Gragas, Zac, and of course Rumble with the ultimate equalizer. It can dish so much damage. And looks like the first pick from the side of Resurgence is the Jarvan, which will most likely go on to the top lane. And on the side of Young Generations is the Elise and Trash. What are your thoughts on the Elise and Trash on the side of Young Generations?
I mean, Elise would definitely be in the jungle, but if Jarvan decide to go into the jungle as well, he might have a hard time running into Elise in the early stages of the game. But of course, with that Trundle locked in, we can be sure that Jarvan will be going into Eternal's hand. Now, both teams already showing some of their shining stars in yesterday's matches. Resurgence definitely, no doubt, the credit goes to Rock and Intresso. Rock on being so efficient in split pushing and absorbing pressure, and Intresso just being all over the places. But of course, Young Generation has their own MVP as well. We saw Big Coral and Pallet. So both teams have MVPs on different roles, and it all comes down to how they play out their strengths. As the third pick for Ciela will be the classic Xayah. Will we see a Rakan? That has to be determined after the second ban phase.
Now, before we move into the second phase of picks and bans here, we do not see many Trundles coming into the normal meta for the side of the Southeast Asian region. So I'm really interested to see how Eternal is going to pull this off. And of course, judging from all of the things that I'm seeing from the side of Resurgence, there is quite a number of CC that actually blocks the pathing for their enemies. So with that being said, Ciela can actually stack up a lot of all these feathers and probably shred the targets easily. And of course, moving into the second phase of picks and bans, we have Narband from the side of Young Generations, as well as the Jace targeted onto probably the mid lane for Intresso.
Well, that might probably just happen as Rakan does not get banned, so it might mean 2 things. Young Generation has an answer for a Xayah Rakan matchup, or they plan to pick up Rakan themselves because they have the first pick advantage during the second phase. But of course, it will be up to them to decide whether they want to take it or not, as they decided otherwise. Renekton will be the matchup in the top lane against the Trundle. The Renekton and Trundle is very interesting because Trundle can't really kill Renekton early on. Renekton can't do the same as well. It all comes out to level 6. Renekton with that big dominance ultimate. Trundle has that subjugate. Both have sustain, both have the damage, and both can really duke it out with each other. So it's going to be a brawl between 2 really huge tanks in the top lane. But
we do see Galio picked up here for the first time in GPL. We do see a lot of bans, and most of the time when it's left open, it wasn't being picked. So I'm really excited what Intresso is going to do with
This is interesting because Camille will be the final pick for Resurgence. So they're actually flexing the supports. Trundle can be the support, Camille can be the support. I'm pretty sure Jarvan is in the jungle. But judging on the performances we saw in day 1, Camille will go top lane and Trundle will be the support for Xayah in the bottom lane. As Young Generation decides, we will pick up that LeBlanc to deal with Galio in the middle lane, which is quite a good choice because she outranges Galio with her chains and all. She has more lockdown than Galio. Galio can't really reach her due to distortion, but as the team comes locked in, we can definitely see that Trundle is there to cause trouble for Kalista.
Yes, and there's a special interaction for Trundle support where if you actually put on the tower, and it will actually block hooks coming in from champions such as Blitzcrank or Crash. So you might just see some of these stuff happening here at the bot lane. So I'm really, really excited for that. And of course, Big Coral versus Ciela, who will emerge on top. We are about to find out in a few moments there. But on the mid lane here, I'm not too sure how would a LeBlanc fare against a Galio. Galio will just stack a lot of MR. I think it's a really wise choice for them to actually pick the Galio up this game because they saw the Elise being picked up by Young Generations. So all you have to do there is stack a lot of MR, get a little bit more of AP, then you will dish out a fair amount of damage as well as sustain a long time in fights. And there's just so much CC for the side of Team Resurgence. They look really promising so far.
I mean, they have a lot of potential to deliver Galio into the middle of the team. You have a Jarvan with the Cataclysm. You have the Camille with the Hextech Ultimatum. You have so many tools to get your Galio in and out of the fight. So Galio is going to play a big part in that combo. It's the classic Jarvan, Flag and Drag, Cataclysm, Flash, and Galio Hero's Entrance coming in to disrupt the entire the enemy team. And with Young Generations picking up that LeBlanc, she needs to position herself properly. And Kalista, low mobility champion, can't really move unless she gets those attacks out. And with Renekton as well, you can dive in, but you can't really dive out. And Lise, if she's in a fray, she will be a sitting duck, even with the repel. So from the big picture, we can see Young Generations, they want to go in and they want to make it work. While Resurgence might have an answer as we go into the game, on to Summoner's Rift. Game 1 of the Day 2 GPL group stage. Resurgence versus Young Generation.
Now you can see both sides are fanning out on the map here as per usual, and it seems to me that Elise will start onto the red side, and on the other hand, Eternal there may just start on the blue.
I mean, Eternal, so far we haven't really seen his full potential. I honestly believe that he can bring much more to the table, and he might just bring out his trump card on the second day. But Rock and Intresso should be the one that YG has to look out for, because they have been doing so much around Summoner's Rift. You really don't know how to deal with them. And Intresso so far, Twisted Fate with Destiny goes around the map. Galio with that Hero's Entrance goes around the map. And Rock on his Camille being given on a silver platter, and he's definitely very happy about this, and I'm pretty sure that he'll make this work. But both junglers will start on the standard side. Lee starting on his blue buff, while Eternal clears out his Raptors.
That's the thing about Intresso on Galio. You just throw one Q and it gives out a very, very good leash for the Jarvan on the Raptor camps there, giving him a very, very good clearing speed. And now we do have a lot of pokes coming in from Null onto Intresso there. Very, very good damage done. Now he's at half health, and Intresso's got to be really careful because it's just really early in this game here, and he is popping out one of his potions there, trying to gain his health.
And actually during the picks and bans, when the mid laner for Young Generations is the last pick, we actually see them hovering over the Kassadin, but at the last second they decided, no, Kassadin, not really the best answer to a Galio, because you riff walk in and he'll taunt you up and you might just die straight off. So LeBlanc is a better choice because she can spam her skills more.
Oh, there's an
bottom
action
lane,
in the bot
that
lane
sentence
here.
will land on the Ciela. Ciela will pause to flash away. Big Coral will flash afterward, gets exhaust, pops the heal. Ciela has a lot of ran stacks. Will he pull out the spear? And Big Coral will grab the first blood. But he'll continue the aggression onto Ares. Lands some spears, lands the pierce, and will ran out the spears in the bodies of Ares. And that is Big Coral showing why he deserves to be called the MVP of YG.
And you can see Ares here is still level 1. There's not much you can do as a level 1 Trundle there. And with that advantage of the range and the hooks there from Pallet, beautifully hooked onto Ciela, dropping all these summoners as well as getting the first blood there. Really, really well played there by the Vietnamese side.
Ooh,
and right now there's more action in the jungle of the Resurgence side as Eternal here. He is fighting to actually get this the Wolves camp here. And of course, just a little bit of disturbance there, but not any fights gonna happen in this jungle as it's pretty empty.
But it's a loss for Eternal as Venus will take away that blue buff. Now the key for young generations in the first 15 minutes of the game is aggression. They go aggressive, they get the kills they need, they snowball their lead, and they set Resurgence back. As we see, Xayah and Trundle, it seems really promising, but it doesn't really pan out until they hit post 6. While for Big Coral and Pallet, they can just go in, die with that Ren strike. Marshall Poise constantly kiting away. You have the pillar to slow Big Coral down, but Pallet is definitely not having any of that. Not going to let you get near to that ADC as we see in the that first split just now. Maybe Ciela and Ares try to get aggressive, overextended, and Big Crow just make them pay for that mistake.
And you can see that on the side of Team YG here, they really, really need to actually secure early game phase to actually win this round. Because if they actually extend this game to the later phase, Trundle's gonna get really tanky. Intreso's gonna be very hard to kill himself. Rock will be split pushing all over the map, doing a lot more damage. So it will be a problem for YG if this game leads out to a 45 minutes kind of game. So I'm hoping to see that Venus, he should be doing a lot of ganks coming into this game.
I have to agree, as you see both teams have different power spikes in terms of sync composition. Now young generation, they will hit their maximum potential in the mid game, 25 to 30 minutes. That is where they want to close out the game with all the snowballs coming in, because Renekton force up late game, LeBlanc slightly force up late game, Kalista, not really the hyper carry you want as you progress into the later stages of the game, but Resurgence, they can just beat you up with beefiness, and Xayah outscales Kalista by quite a lot when they hit full item capacity. So young generations have to make sure that they get the snowball going, or else they might face a really hard time as the game progresses.
And just looking at the top lane CS here, Ren is actually getting a lot more CS as compared to Rock. He's putting a really good pressure as he is now level 6 in comparison with...
Oh, there might be a gang. Flash Flay, Ciela will get slowed down. He's running low on mana, but Eternal is there to respond. Teleport coming in from Intreso. Now Venus is dropping reload, forced to repel out. Now Ares is actually there, but the teleport gets cancelled. Ares has a lot of Ren stack. Teleport coming in for Ren. Will the Ren be pulled out? Definitely Ares will go down. He actually used the Pierce, rends the spears out. And Ren will be there to pick up the kill. Actually not really needed for that teleport, but nevertheless it's a secure for young generations, and they are getting the snowball rolling.
Oh, it's not over yet. They are trying to still hunt out the members of Team Resurgence here. Really, really well played from the side of young generations there. I thought that Pallet could actually fall on that fight, but no, he manages to escape with the slither of health. And of course, beautifully played by Big Coral. He just jumps, hops around, just kiting all of these members. So buying enough time for the TP to channel from Ren as well. So now it's going to be 2-0 for the side of YG. The goal difference is starting to open up with 11k to 9.
Yes, both teams having 2 teleports on both mid laners and top laners, but Resurgence will have the advantage on Rock, as we see both teleports used by Ren and Nor to get to the bottom lane just now. But nevertheless, the first tower in the bottom lane has gone down on the side of Resurgence, opening up the map, and young generations will perform an immediate lane swap, placing Big Coral and Pallet in the top lane.
And of course, with that being said, they did notice that Big Coral is now on the top lane here. Camille will slowly make his way to the top lane. So you can see both teams just rotating with the bottom tower broken there. But of course, there is an edge coming in from their side of the bottom side of the map. They probably want to get this first Drake here, which is the mounted Drake, which eases you to take down all these towers here. And of course, Big Coral here just keeping his eyes up onto the top tower right now.
And young generations knowing the key to victory, knowing the name of the game, and they are bringing the game to Resurgence right now. Ren is constantly pressuring Rock. Look at the pressure he is applying onto the lanes. Wherever Rock is nearby, Ren does not hesitate to go in, slice and dices, cows the Meek, and Ruthless Predator slices and dices out again. Rock really cannot respond too much during that duration where he was stunned up, because the interaction with Renekton is every time you go in, you can pull out the whole combo in one single swoop. But we might be dualistic there. Hook shot might come out. Galio coming in with the hero center. Slice and dices. Cannot get him out. Hashtag ultimatum. We'll make sure he stays there. Cows the Meek for a while. But Intereso will use the Justice Punch to deliver his justice.
Well, he was staying around on the bot lane for a little bit way too long, and there wasn't any vision set onto the side of YG to the enemy lines. So with that being said, it wasn't too hard to actually catch out the alligator that's hanging around on the bot lane, and it's worth it to actually burn out the heroic entrance just for that reason. And right now Venus and Null is heading up to the top lane here. They want to secure something for their side, and this should actually go down without a doubt, as there are 3 members on the top lane and there's nothing much that Ciela and Ares could do about it.
No contest coming in from the side of Resurgence, and the second turret will go in the favor of Young Generations. So far, Ren giving up 1 kill, but it doesn't really impact them as much because they have the control over the map. And if you look at the CS difference, Rock is catching up with Ren because Ren died just now. But with the moment he clears this wave, he will be back in the lead. But Big Coral and Ciela shows the biggest difference, 51 to 78. Which will put Xayah very, very far behind.
Yes, and he needs to slowly adapt. I would say you need to actually stall the game. It's a win condition as we speak about, and they just have to drag the game long enough to actually scale, get all these items up. Just make sure that they pick the right fights, try not to make mistakes, and they've been doing really well so far. They managed to catch out Ren. Probably if they can slowly catch out one by one of the members of YG, they may just seal the game.
Exactly, and with Young Generations taking down 2 towers, they have the freedom to start on objectives, as Venus will try to sneak the Rift Herald. I don't think Resurgence has any vision of that area. Don't think they can go near there either. Pallet is there to beat the bouncer for Vision, but Standard Demacian will land. They will see Venus in the pit, but now is there to intercept. Teleport is coming in for Raw. Pallet will use the Lantern. Who will get the Rift Herald? As Ciela actually secures that objective. Now No is trapped in the 4 people. Hashtag Ultimate will trap him out. He won't be able to go nowhere with that distortion, and that will be the second kill coming in for Resurgence. Ares will go down. So Young Generation is a 2-for-1 trade, but Ciela will spot out Venus. Will the feathers get pulled back? Not really. Hook shot misses a bit short. Gets cocoon. Gets trapped out. Pallet flays him back. Rock flashes with that tactical sweep. He escape? The Ren stacks are on him, but the fight is split into 2 sides. Big Coral winning the match against Rock. Ren is on Eternal. Will Eternal escape? Dropping really low. Intereso will keep him alive for that taunt. Justice Man knocks him out, but Ren cuts him down. Now Ren has the red buff. Intereso gets flayed back. Tower shots, not enough. Double kill for Young Generations, and that is an unofficial ace.
Really, really well played there by both teams, and it seems to be a little bit messy throughout the whole fight, but it seems to me that YG came out on top because, well, the moment that RSG came into the pit, they managed to steal the Rift Herald. That's a really
bonus.
Yeah, that's a bonus coming in, but there's no point of getting all of your members being dropped down just for the sake of it. So now they have to actually leverage from what they get, and of course, with all the members down from the side of Team RSG, now they are looking to secure this Drake again for free, I would say.
Yeah, again, the Drake will go uncontested in the favor of Young Generations. Now, Resurgence has that Rift Herald buff on Intereso, but the question is, how will they utilize it? With 2 turrets down, it opens up the map so much for Young Generation that it is hard even for Eternal to pull off a single gank. We haven't seen him gank. He tried to respond to the bottom aggression of Young Generations, but it didn't work out. Now with the turrets down, he will find a lot of trouble trying to pull a stun off. So farming will be his main concern because the map is definitely not in their control.
Yes, definitely, and it seems to me that Team YG, they are dictating the pace as of now. Even if they do have the Rift Herald, if they want to drop it right now, it's very, very easy for Team YG to actually clear it up. And Intereso here, they are looking to actually catch out the pallet, and now they got saved there by the Fate's Call from Big Coral. really well done there. And with that being said, they are actually putting a lot more pressure onto the mid lane here. Rift Herald is being spawned out. This will actually probably go...
It will be the first tower.
Yes, this will actually fall to the side of Team Resurgence, as they do have Renekton on the top lane, slowly making his way to the mid lane here. And Pallet here is being blocked up there, and Rock will make sure that he will not escape, as Intresso picks up the kill for the side of Team Resurgence.
Pallet a bit out of position just now, and Ren will be spotted out, but Resurgence not in range to engage onto that top laner of Young Generations, and that is a pick-off that I would gladly take if I'm on Resurgence side right now. One tower and one kill off of Young Generations, but what can they get from there? Opening up the middle lane, that is a fair response if you compare it to both losses of turrets in the top and bottom lane. But what happens afterwards will be up to vision control in the jungle of the side of Young Generations.
And I really like the fact that Big Koro now is sitting at 4 kills at 14 minutes here, and he's managed to pick up a Blade of the Ruin King himself this early in the match. And it should be no problem for him to shut down all the units of Team RSG if they choose to actually make a 5v5 fight in a matter of minutes. So with that being said, they still, Team RSG, they know for a fact that it's very difficult to catch onto Kalista, and they have to keep up the pace where they need to actually catch on all of these members of YG one-on-one. And we're gonna have a little bit of replay onto what happened from Big Koro.
And we see Big Koro is just shooting the spears away, piercing them into the side of Resurgence. Rock running away, but Pallet lands a really great flash death sentence, and that will be the death sentence for Rock. As we go back to the live action now, Ciela is actually at top dealing with Ren, but with that being said, Eternal will get the death sentence on his face. Hero Enter comes in, but no one gets knocked out. Face Call will bring Pallet back in. That knockout, Taunt only taunts out Pallet, but that is not the target you want. Ares forced to run away, can't really do much. Teleport coming in from the side of Ren, and Intresso will take a lot of spears in the face, gets taken low, and that is a red buff to the side of Young Generation. And again, Big Koro is the target you want, but he will be the hardest to get through. You have Hextech Automatum, great. You have Cataclysm, great. But can you get to it? That is the problem, because you have to do it with a lot of other people.
Big Koro here is being left alone fighting against Ciela. There is a lantern being popped up there, and of course Ciela has to pop his ultimate right now. Big Koro here is just so hard to deal with. He's going on one-on-one here, and he's playing really ham this time around. And right now, Ares here is trying to block these units from the side of Team Resurgence.
Rock is coming in, has that ultimate, gets Cocoon, gets Flay back, and that Flay will make Big Koro unstoppable. He has to go away, but he pops the heal. Eternal flags and drags in, performs a drive-by, but he will be driven into the ground, back to the summoning platform. This Big Koro will pick up a double kill. He's on a 6-0 kill streak.
Well, this is really awesome coming in from YG. They know how to keep all this pressure, and even RSG is under the tower. They're not giving them any room to breathe here. Look at the bottom tower. They just secured the mid lane, and now they're in the inhibitor turrets here at the bot lane. And Team RSG, they need to find room to breathe. And look at the mid lane here. They're just taking towers after towers after towers, and there's nothing that RSG can do about it.
Nope, not for now. Resurgence getting a taste of their own medicine. They did this to Kuala Lumpur Hunters yesterday, and our Young Generation says, we know the trick, and we will make sure you taste the pain.
Wow, that's a big statement coming in from Husky here. But of course, a little bit of salt just adds up to the flavor here. And yeah,
but with that being said, Young Generations having the control of the game, as Baron will be spawning in less than 3 minutes. It all comes down to vision control. But with the bottom inhibitor exposed, Resurgence have to really look out for how they rotate. I mean, we expected that Galio out to be utilized to its maximum potential, but Young Generation says, I mean, you are not getting any opportunity to pull that off. Every time Galio comes in, knocks out Pallet, the least favorable target, and now Big Koro will have 3 members converging onto it. Teleport is coming for now. Big Koro will be forced to flash. Will the mid laner of Young Generation make it? And Ciela at the wrong place goes down. Intresso will be brought to the ground. Hashtag automated onto Big Coral. Will Rock be Rock? Rock not solid enough. And he goes down back into dust and pebbles.
Did you just see how Big Coral manages to handle all these members of Team Resurgence there? He is just leaping away, left, right, back and forth.
It's an ace.
It is a beautiful ace coming in, and this time around, they will be securing another tower from the top lane, as well as the mid lane here. It seems like this game is pretty much still for the side of Team YG as of now.
Somehow, Resurgence, I guess, is only a surge for a short while as they are crumbling really fast and under the pressure of YG as the inhibitor turret in the top lane will go down as Big Coral makes sure that the spears will do the work. And now RSG will be forced to defend. Who will pull the trigger? As now decides, I will be the one to do it. He gets trapped, but Distortion will bring it back. Big Coral suddenly is legendary. Featherstorm gets used. Will it do any impact? Ciela forced to flash away defensively, and that means 2 inhibitors will go down. Top will be exposed. Mid will be exposed. My YG look for the end game. They might just do so. Bottom inhibitor is again being taken down. RSG backs against the wall, back against the Nexus turret, but the Nexus turret will just be 2 standing structures. If YG continues the aggression, Cocoon will land, but YG says, I'll let you live a bit longer as they reset the fight.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is just a crazy game coming in for this match here. It's 20 kills, 19 minutes. And it seems to me that YG is looking stronger than ever. This is one of the cleanest games that they've been playing out so far through the tournament. And Team Resurgence there, a little bit shaky to start off the day here, but of course they do have many other games coming in for today. And they need to find a way to get all these members online, and it's taking them a little bit far too long. And YG knows how to actually put a lot of pressure onto the members of
Brock flash onto Ren. Hookshot will land as the Garena will come in to assist. 4 members onto 1 single Crocodile. Ren has nowhere to go, and Rock will gladly secure that kill, but Baron will be spawning right now. And YG has the pressure they need. They can easily start Baron, and as I said it, Big Coral and Venus will be doing so. Absolutely no vision coming in from the side of Resurgence. And with Kalista, that Ren stack will be a second smite. Eternal will spot out now, but that is all he will see as Baron will go down uncontested. YG bringing the fight to Resurgence.
They say, see you later, alligator, and they say hello to the Baron. And right now, with the Baron buff taken from for the side of Team YG, they will just use this Baron just to shove up all these minions coming in from the mid and the top lane as well. And it seems to me this may just be game over for Team Resurgence, but right now they need to force a fight to happen. Teleport is being channeled there from the side of Ren, and they will probably start a fight right here.
They have to force a fight as Calculator will counter and try out 3 people. Hashtag automated will follow up the taunt itself, but Big Coral is legendary. You can't beat a legend. Ciela will pick a shutdown onto the Kalista. KDA is ruined, but what is going to be more ruined will be the Nexus of Resurgence as the Nexus turrets will fall in Trestle. Next casualty, and the Super Minions are pounding away. Palette says, taste the palette of your own medicine. Nexus will fall, and YG completely destroying Resurgence in the first game.
YG they just look exceptionally well coming in for this matchup here. I'm lost for words. They are such a strong team coming in for the side of GPL, and the Vietnamese team is just so convincing. We saw some games yesterday. We thought that they may just beat they were the strongest ones to actually beat Kuala Lumpur Hunters, and they actually lost the game to KLH, and it seemed a little shaky on day 1, but they
are starting to adapt. I mean, this is anyone's game in the second stage of GPL, because now I believe everyone has adapted to their opponents, and they are really showing what they can do with that little bit of analysis and study onto the lineups and team playstyle and team composition. And Big Coral being the big OG of Team YG, showing his skills.
YG, that's
showing his skills on that Kalista, and Palette being the cherry on top.
And of course, for Team Resurgence, I think there are a few errors that I must address here coming in for since the pick and ban phase there. Yes, they are trying to pull off some cheeses here. Like, they were trying to pull off a lot of flex pick going on, where we thought, hey, Trundle might just go top, or Trundle might go to the jungle, and it ended up being a support. Of course, Trundle support has been pretty off meta, I would say. And of course, when we talk about tank supports coming back into the meta, it does not mean that every single one of these will actually work efficiently. So we're just gonna go straight into the results screens here, and let's have a look at the damage done by Big Coral himself. He just single-handedly.
if you do the maths, Big Coral equals to like 3.5 members of Team Resurgence. That's how much damage he has dealt. But if we look back at the draft, Resurgence, we have to give props to them. They have the right idea. They have the right way to construct that team, to dive in and make sure that there's no breathing room for YG to respond, but YG knows how to do with it. If you look at the team compositions, they don't really have a lot of mobility, but they have a lot of engages. So what topples engages, you engage onto them, you snowball them, you don't give them any time to respond. You get your item spikes first, and that is how you roll over the composition that loves to dive.
Exactly, just about that. When you talk about mobility, young generations could just move around the map as they please, and RSGs will have to respond to send members to either side. So with that being said, they also need a lot of time to come online. So they just play to their win conditions here. Team RSG there, of course, like you said, they did put up a good idea coming into match 1.
Exactly.
But of course, I hope to see them picking something that works more efficiently. Like, you don't want to just win your lane. Like, I understand the idea of picking up the Trundle to block all the scoops and stuff, or even like stopping some of the enemies. You can see Pallet there being caught a few times there by Trundle, by Galio. But of course, that's just one unit. What about the rest of them, the side of YG? They're just going to tear you down if you're not careful enough.
Exactly, and if you see all the lane matchup, is almost all of the lanes, except for bottom lane, goes in the favor of young generations. Renekton beating out Camille in the early stages of the game. Nothing much Galio can do to LeBlanc for almost the entirety of the game until he gets tanky. But the first mistake, I have to address this, comes in when Ciela got killed by Big Coral in the bottom lane. That is where they entirely lost the pressure in the bottom lane. Gave up the bottom tower.
I wanted to point that up, and he just took it out
right
of my mouth.
That is the first mistake that they made, and from that point onwards,
it just escalated.
Yeah, Eternal can't even gank any lane, because if he ganks top, Ren on that Renekton is already far ahead. He can 1v2 them, no problem. Bottom lane not an option because the bottom turret is down. They can easily YG can respond with a teleport fairly easily, and from that point onwards, you don't see Eternal ganking any single lane, while Venus is just free to do what he wants on the Elise.
And of course, we do have more matches coming in for today. The next game is gonna be Hit Hunters against Team Kuala Lumpur Hunters. This is Team Hit Hunters. Wait,
Kuala Lumpur Hunters versus Hit Hunters. The two Hunters coming in as we put up the schedule. But of course, the next two games will be a back-to-back series. It might come down to a game of adaptation. Which team adapts better? Will one of the team pull out a 2-0 clean sweep, or will it be a tie? We just have to wait to find out. But it will be interesting to see how these two teams go up against each other, because both are at the bottoms of the standings. Both have 1 point, respectively 4th and 5th place. So those two matches might just change the standings a lot.
All right there. So we'll be back in just a bit to find out who will come out top on the fight between Hit Hunters versus Kuala Lumpur Hunters. So still stay tuned and don't go anywhere.